Welcome to the Writing Gals. We're so glad to have you guys here tonight, and we are super excited for our guest tonight. We have Sariah Wilson on, and we are just thrilled to death to have her on our show tonight. Before we go into talking with Sariah, though, we're just going to tell you what's been going on with us. So, who wants to start? Amy, do you want to start? Tell us what's been going on with you.
Sure. So I am about 10,000 words away from marrying a spy, which I'm very excited to finish and put to bed because it's been a struggle. And and if I hadn't had the pre-order set up, I probably wouldn't have taken this on. I probably would have put it on the back burner, but I'm glad I did because I got it done and it's really close to being finished. And then I'm going to start my Christmas novellas, and my YAs are still doing amazing. I love YA. Can't wait for my Christmas one to come out. And then I also took one of my billionaire Christmas books, changed the cover to more of a Christmas one. So I'm going to do a lot of promotion, a free promotion for that probably next month to kind of hopefully boost it up and get all those Christmas readers who want Christmas to read. So I'm pretty boring right now, just writing.
No, you're a writing machine. You're awesome. I love your stuff. All right, Judy, what you got going on?
So I'm still writing in my mistletoe mix-up, hoping that I can somehow finish it this month. And I also just sent 3 of my manuscripts to Tantor. So they're getting the audio, I guess, getting started on it anyway. So I have no idea when that will be done or anything, but it's just exciting to finally
That's so exciting.
Get audiobooks going. And then also I got an email from my editor today, and she said that she finished my book, and so she finished a week early, so I'm really excited to publish it a little earlier than I expected. So yeah, my second chance should be out within the next week or so. So I'm just working.
Fantastic.
Trying not to go crazy. So.
Awesome. Great. So exciting. And Michelle, what have you got going on?
So I published Saved by the Rockstar. Let's see. I think it's 14 days now. I'm right at the 2-week mark just about. And this last week, it got down to as low as $4.19, I think was the lowest I got in the store. And held the #1 spot in Clean and Wholesome new releases for a whole day. Well, most of a day. There's a lot of competition over there right now. But I was pretty excited about that. And it's holding its own, sticking in the 500s so far. So I'm really happy with that. My plan this week was to finish a 15,000 word novelette for Christmas, and then I got the flu. I'm still battling the flu right now. And so I'm only 5,000 words into that, and we'll see, because I have plans to also write a full-length Christmas book this month. So I've got to get chugging on words. But the exciting thing is the full length that I'm writing is for my Southern Billionaire romance series. And the first book, The Trouble with Billionaires, has the audiobook coming out. Tantor's going to, I think they've got it releasing on October 30th. And so I've got all these plans to get my Christmas book released and raise the whole series back up and get the ranks higher so that I can hopefully sell enough audiobooks to prove to them that they don't need to just do the first and second books in the series, but the third and fourth too. So those are my plans. And then I'm so much in love with Christmas romances that I'm trying to write another one in November to publish in December.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll see if that happens. But that's Christmas crazy. Did so well for me last year that I really want a repeat performance and see what I can, if I can push it higher with getting 2 books out. So those are my plans right now. I just need to get healthy so I can get my words in.
You are ambitious. That's awesome.
I'm crazy.
Well, you know, we call it ambitious.
There we go. That's a nice spin on it.
And Sariah, what have you got going on?
Oh, I am in the middle of writing a new adult college football romance. I'm about 30,000 words into that. I've been really excited lately. I've been breaking into some international markets. And so I've got a couple books that have been done in Italian. I had a Polish company contact me about, it's called The Ugly Stepsister Strikes Back. That was the first indie book that I did. So that was really cool. So I'm just kind of starting to dip my toe in a little bit there. So that's
that's fantastic. Super fun. Well, right now I am writing. I'm working on two different things at the moment. I'm working on my silly alien romance, my for love book, and I'm also writing a Christmas novelette. And so that'll come out in the same collection that I think a few of other of us are writing little novelettes for. And so we'll be talking about that a little bit later as that comes out. But on to our special guest, Sariah Wilson. We are so excited to have Sariah on with us tonight. All of us girls are super big fans of Sariah's books. And if you haven't read her books, you need to go out and get them because she writes awesome, clean and wholesome, super swoony romance books. And so we love them. But here's Sariah's bio that she sent me, and this is super cute. She said, Sariah Wilson has never jumped out of an airplane, never climbed Mount Everest, and is not a former CIA operative. She has, however, been madly, passionately in love with her soulmate and is a fervent believer in happily ever afters, which is why she writes romance, including the Love Struck and Royals of Montera series. She grew up in Southern California, graduated from Brigham Young University, go Cougars, with a semi-useless degree in history, and is the oldest of 9 children. She currently lives with the aforementioned soulmate and their 4 children in Utah, along with 3 tiger barb-fish, a cat named Tiger, and a recently departed hamster that is buried in the backyard and has nothing to do with tigers. So welcome, Sariah. We are so glad to have you on.
Thank you.
And I am super excited for our first question because Sariah hinted a little bit in when we were chatting if she could come on the show. She hinted that she had a couple of experiences with some actors. And so I want to hear those stories.
The first one, it actually made its way into Starstruck. There's an actor named Justin Baldoni. For those who don't know, he plays Raphael on Jane the Virgin, which is probably one of my favorite shows on TV. I love him. Like, he's such a fantastic person. I mean, very talented, but very dedicated to his family, very dedicated to service of others, just a fantastic individual. And he does something each year where he goes out to Skid Row and he brings them food and clothing, but he brings people out to wash their hair and, give them pedicures just to make them feel, special again. So he was raising money for that. And he offered one of these things, like, if you pay this much money, you can have a 10-minute Skype call with me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing that. Like, that's going to happen. And so I get on this call with him and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the 12-year-old inside me is like, Justin Baldoni. But I tried to stay calm. And he said, well, why did you do this? And I said, well, I kind of have an ulterior motive. I wrote this book, Starstruck, because what happened, there's this exchange where the heroine writes the hero, who's a big celebrity, and someone says, oh, it's probably just his assistant. And when that happened to me, Justin liked one of my things I posted about Jane the Virgin. And I'm like, I said, I'm so excited, but it's probably his assistant. And he writes me back and goes, no, it's me.
Awesome.
So that's when it was just like this huge, like, oh my gosh, kind of moment. And so I told him that, and I said, can I send you a copy of Starstruck? Would you take a picture with it? He's like, I'll do you one better. And he does an Instagram story right there, like, you need to read Starstruck. It's this great book. And I have the video. Like, you can go on my website and you can see him pitching it. Like, my husband's a computer programmer. I'm like, you're saving that story so I can show it to everyone I've ever met. Like, get that.
Awesome.
So yeah, and he, at the end of the conversation, was so awesome. We're talking, and I told him about kind of what I'm about and that I really want to uplift and I want to entertain. And if I can take someone's mind off their problems for a couple of hours, like, that makes me happy. And I'm not trying to be super deep or let's solve the world's problems. And he's like, well, that's kind of what I'm about too, is like, I want to uplift and inspire. And he's like, send me your books. Like, we'll see if we can turn them into movies. And like, nothing happened, but how cool to be asked, right?
Yeah, really.
So yeah, that was my fun little Justin Baldoni story.
That's fantastic. And you had another run-in with an actor too.
I was going to say, next time he does that, you need to let us know, because we will all, I would just love to talk to him because I love Jane the Virgin too. And he is, he is nice.
He really is like the nicest person. When you talk to him, he's just so charming and nice. Like, it was so much fun.
I keep thinking if I say Chris Hemsworth's name on the YouTube channel enough, he will eventually see it and he will eventually contact me and star in my movies. This is my theory.
I'm just holding out. He might be like 75 years old, but eventually he will star in a movie. I read Star Wars.
One of my friends from RWA, we were joking about this, and she's like, "It's gonna happen." And like, she put up a post that Chris Pratt liked. She's like, "It's beginning." I'm like, "That's right. This is where we start." So yeah, I get it.
That's great.
But yeah,
So,
the other one happened when I was 17, and I was at Disneyland. I was there to see a band. They gave me free tickets, and I was with one of my best friends. And you have to understand, I'm a pop culture junkie. Like, people, I love pop culture. People who are like, "Oh, I don't watch TV." I'm like, I watch all the TV. Like, how do you not watch television? Like, I love everything. But I, as a teenager, for the internet, would cut out teen magazines and covers, and I would stick up cute boys on my wall, and the whole 9 yards. So my friend and I, she had to get some cash, and so we got to the ATM outside of Disneyland. And the guy in front of me, I recognize he's on my wall, and his name was Stephen Dorff. And for those who don't know him, he was in the Aerosmith video "Crying" with Alicia Silverstone. That was her first big role. He was in Britney Spears's Every Time, but he's been in a lot of TV and movies. Like recently, he was on Fox's Star. He played the heroine's dad. But every time I see him, I'm like, I know him. But he was standing in front of me, like really short. I'm almost 6 feet tall, and so he was tiny. And I'm like, Stephen Dorff. Like, I'm freaking out. Like, that's Stephen Dorff. My best friend's like, who is that? And he turns around. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "You're Stephen Dorff, aren't you?" Like, I was super cool. And he's like, "Yeah." And of course, this is before cell phones or selfies. And so I'm like, "Yeah, I am getting this documented." And so I took my little ticket stub, because back then it was paper, and I didn't have a pen. And so I started going around. I'm an introvert. I don't talk to other people. And I went to every person waiting near the ATM. I said, "Do you have a pen? Do you have a pen? Do you have a pen?" Like, finally find one. She's like, "Yeah, here, bring it back." I'm like, "I will bring it back." And I'm like, "You have to sign this for me." And so he signed my ticket stub. I still have that. Like, I still have my little ticket stub. And you can see that on my website too, SariahWilson.com. I have his story up. But he signed it for me, and they just thought that was funny. And I had to go get the pen back. And he got his cash out. His buddy got his cash out. And he turns around. He's like, "So what are you doing? My friends and I are going to go dancing like at 7 o'clock." And I'm like, "Oh, I have to meet my mom." And he's like, "Oh, okay, cool. And well, I guess see ya." My best friend turns to me and she's like, "Are you serious? Like, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Your actor just asked you out and you said, 'No, thanks. I have to meet my mom.'" And I'm like, I am the biggest idiot who ever lived. And I'm like, "We have to go find him." We went looking for him. We didn't find him. He didn't show up at the dance thing that night, which is probably a good thing, because he was a worldly 19-year-old actor and I was a very innocent 17-year-old, like I would have been completely out of my depth. But every time I see him now, I'm like, there's Stephen Dorff. He asked me out once. My kids are like, "You're so stupid." But
I love it. That's a great story. Awesome. Well,
what I love about your story, sorry, Victorine, is that now I can tell, like reading your books now, like how much you do take from the world or your experiences or just your personality and how you see the world, and you put them into your books. So that's really fun and entertaining to see and be like, yeah, I can see why she writes the book she does, because she loves this kind of stuff.
I do. I really do. And I know it's weird, but
no, we're all just like you. We do the same thing. All right. So I totally get it. When we posted in our group that you were coming on, there were some people with some questions. And so I will go through and ask about that. Oh, wait, before I get into their questions, I had one more question that I wanted to ask. And that is, can you tell us a little bit about your experiences with Kindle in Motion, kind of how that came about, and what they did for you during that time?
This is actually what I taught my RWA class about, so I'll try not to be too wordy. What happened was my editor contacted me and said, "We have this project. We can't tell you anything about it. You interested?" And I'm like, "Yep." Because I have a policy that I don't say no to Amazon. Like, that's just,
yeah, right.
As long as I'm going to ride the Amazon train, as long as they'll let me stay on the train, I'm gonna. And so if they're like, "Do this project," I'm like, "Yep, know nothing about it. I'm in." And, and he's like, "Well, I'll tell you more." And it went on for months. And that's how my husband like irritates me. Like, I have something to tell you, but I'm not going to tell you. Like, he knows it drives me insane. Like, when he's up in the job interview, I'm like, "You better call me right after and tell me what happened." Because he knows, he'll be like, "Oh no, I'll tell you later." I'm like, "No, now," So that was very difficult. But he eventually told me, "We're going to have this book, and it's going to be this new format. It's called Kindle in Motion, and it kind of will have these little gifts in the story. Like, it'll have these repeating loops, but it'll be scenes from your story. And he told me, how do you feel about having a guy with his shirt off? And I'm like, I'm good, you know. I think that's bad, but okay. Like, I wouldn't want them to be like in bed together. I wouldn't write that, but you know, I didn't have a problem with it. And he said, you know, here's the setup. We need a girl to date a bunch of different guys. There needs to be a lot of different handsome guys in it. And the hero, obviously, who she ends up with, it needs to be short. And I had never written short. Like, I don't write short. Like, my books are long, you know. And they're like, this has to be 25,000 words. And I'm like, that's like when I start get going, you know, like that's when the story starts. And I'm like, that sucks. But I'm like, yep, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So it was really fun. And the woman that they had as the director and the producer, she was like, we're still friends on Facebook. Like, she was such a fangirl with me. Like, we had so much fun together because they're like, how involved do you want to be? And I'm like, all the way involved? Like, how can I come there? Like, can that happen? And they let me pick out, they send me over documents with all the models, all the actors, and I got to help pick out like my 5 finalists, and they took that into consideration. And they sent me all the videos of the actors auditioning, which I was mortified for them. I'm like, I can't believe actors go through this. Like, I'm embarrassed watching you. We picked out our actors, people we wanted. We got everybody we wanted that we thought were good for the roles. And they just started shooting. And Timony, who was the director, she would send me stuff, you know. And it was very different writing this book because I was writing it to be visual. I was writing it to be filmed. And it's a very different mindset than just writing a book to be a book. So it was a little bit harder, I think, and because I had to keep it short. I was very pleased with it and how it came out as part of my kind of an offshoot of the Royals of Montera series. And I don't know, it was a really, really fabulous experience. It was like filming a movie, only it wasn't a movie. That's kind of what it was like. Like these scenes and stuff. So
did you write the characters first, or did you pick the models and then write the characters according to what the models look like?
I wrote the book first. The book was done when all this started. So I actually had to change the book because a lot of the actors did not match the physical descriptions that I had written. Like my hero was supposed to be dark haired, dark eyed, and the guy they picked he had dark brown hair, but he had bright blue eyes. I mean, like stunning blue eyes. And I'm like, he has blue eyes now, you know, like that's going to the story. And my heroine, she was supposed to be kind of like an auburn haired with green eyes. And Becky Boggs, who's the actress, she has brown hair and brown eyes. And it's funny because she's a fashion designer in the story. And so I had all these scenes of her like getting ready, but she put these earrings on. Well, the actress's ears were not pierced. And I'm like, well, I can go take it out. And they said, no, we'll figure it out. So the wardrobe person would tape earrings onto her ears. So if you look closely in those pictures where she's wearing earrings, they're taped on.
Oh my God.
So it was really fun. And you could hear all these backstage stories and these scenes and stuff. It was a blast, total blast. And I said, whenever you want to do this again, you call me. They haven't called me, but I'm in. So
much fun.
So
yeah, really cool.
One of my first introductions to you, Sariah, was I was trolling the romance list, trying to find clean romances back in the day when you were putting out your first Royals book. And so when it got to the Kindle Emotion, I was like, well, that's an automatic buy, you know, when I saw it come up. And so it was so funny because I love how your books are clean, but they are definitely full of these really steamy, swoony scenes and kisses, and you definitely get right up next to that like point. And I always enjoyed that. And so when the Kindle Emotion came out and this guy, you're talking about how he was going to have his shirt off, I was like, he's wearing a towel. Like I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I wrote that. Yeah. I don't know. People have their boundaries and I'm very comfortable with mine. And I took out, if you guys know Kelly Oram, YA writer, she went out to dinner. She writes much more explicit than me. And I said, you know, how do you get away with that? Because I get emails, you know. And she's like, that's between me and my God, and everybody else can shut up about it. And that's kind of been my philosophy since. If I'm comfortable and I feel like I'm good, I don't really care what anybody else thinks, you know. And if you're upset by it, don't read me. You know, it's that simple.
I love it. You've been a kind of a hero for me because I think we all want to have that sense of attraction and sexual tension and all those really good things in our stories without taking it to the explicit lengths that, you know, a lot of authors feel like you need to have good stories. And so that I was just touching base. I was like, oh yeah, everybody knows me. Like I almost always have the guy's shirt come off at some point in the story. So then after I watched that, I was like, okay, someday they're going to be in just a towel because Sariah got away with it. So that means you're paving the path for the rest of us, you trailblazer.
And I'll tell you, when I wrote Starstruck, when I talked to the editor at the time, about what she wanted. She said, I want you to write 3 books about this celebrity and this normal person. So I planned this out to be this 3-book series. Like that's how it was in my head. And they came back and they said, no, my initial pitch was, let's do social media where celebrities fall in love with normal people through different forms of social media. And they came back and said, oh, that thing you said, let's do that instead. But here I had all this info. And so I had all these like steps where, my actor didn't want to get married. He didn't believe in commitment. Nobody in Hollywood stays married. And it would be things like she stays the night at his house and he realizes, I like this. I like the intimacy of this and being with you. And I thought, and I wrote it and I'm like, I am going to get letters. I am going to get emails. I'm going to get people mad. And I just thought, I'm going to write my stories. And I feel like I don't have to be explicit. You'll see there's certain things that I would never say or do in my stories. But by the same token, like, I'm very sorry if you had a relationship where your husband and you held hands for the first time after he proposed. I was attracted to my husband. I enjoyed kissing him, and I think people want that, that you felt that way. And it's fun to kind of feel that again and have that be recreated for you. And, even women who like clean and wholesome, they like attraction, they like sexual tension, they like that chemistry. So I do think I think everybody's going to have their own lines. I think readers are going to have their own lines and writers are going to have their own lines and you're going to brush up against them. But I feel like if you're comfortable with it, and okay, everybody else can just do what they want. So,
well, and your sales show that people don't really. I mean, you're gonna get those 1 or 2 stinkers in the pot, but it seems like everybody else enjoys that. So I think you're doing great. You're fine. And my philosophy is every book, the guy's shirt should come off in every book. That's about the only thing in Clean and Wholesome that can come off is the shirt, and anytime you can take it off is fine by me. Like gold stars.
I think you can get away with it too, because a man's shirt coming off is not necessarily sexual. I mean, let's be honest, that it's just common in our culture. They take it off to play sports or mow the grass and it's just not a big deal. And then people are like, oh, his shirt came off. I'm like, well, that's on you then. Like, I didn't write it that way. If you felt like it was smutty, that's not my problem. But yeah, it's definitely been interesting. It's definitely been to see where do I feel comfortable? Where is my readership comfortable? What are people okay and not okay with?
Definitely. All right. So we have several people in our group in the Writing Gals asking about what your writing process is. Do you have like an outline process you do, or do you use beat sheets, or what's your process like?
I think my process is different from everybody else's. My process is I have a book due in 21 days and I better write it. And I'm not kidding when I say that. That's kind of how my writing process goes. And that's why it's good for me to have a publisher. Like, I so am impressed with like indies who are like, well, I'll just write this deadline and get it done. I would never get a book done. I'm telling you now, it would just be like, I'll work on that tomorrow. I'll work on that tomorrow. Because there's so many things in my life that just come up that it's really good for me to have a deadline. And it's very motivating. I would like to be able to write outlines, and I kind of outline as I go. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have this happen. I'm going to have this happen. And I'll write it down. Or if I think of a great line of dialogue, I'm like, what scene's that going to go in? I'll put it here. But I guess I am a pantser by necessity, like, because I don't have a choice because it has to get done. But I don't write drafts. And people do that, like, I don't even know what the story is to the first draft. I'm like, I'm done with the first draft. Like, what comes out to the world is not much different than what I wrote in the first place. I'm like, so every day I go back and I reread what I wrote the day before and I edit. But I don't believe in multiple drafting. For everybody who does, it's, do what works for you. Don't listen to me. But I am someone that I write and it's done. And I don't actually enjoy writing. And it sounds terrible. People are like, I'd write anyways. I'm like, if I wasn't getting paid for this, like, there's no way. But I love having written. Like, I love that I wrote a book and I'm so pleased that at the end, it really is like the cut your veins and bleed all over the typewriter type of thing for me. It's difficult. So like, I'm having a hard time right now, but this book has to be done by October 15th, and it will be. It's hard.
Yeah.
So how does that process work for you though with Montlake? So like for me as a published indie author, I'm just like, okay, I normally have a 5-book series and I've got 4. So I've got to finish that series off and then I start other series. Like, how does that, do you come up with a concept and then pitch it? Or does Montlake come to you and say, we want you to write this? Like, how does that process work for you?
Like, it would be so much easier in my life if Montlake would come to me and say, write this. Like, yep, I'll write that. I'm happy. No, it is you pitching. What ideas do you have? And it's funny because the books I'm doing now, I had pitched years ago. And I said, football, the biggest audience for football is women. The one that's increasing is women. I'm like, women like football players. They like the NFL. Let me write an NFL series. And they're like, no, nobody's going to read that. That's not, And, I have a new editor and things have changed. Sports romance is very popular right now. It's hot. And so like, yeah, write sports romance. And so that's what I'm doing. But it was me pitching the concept. And I actually got an agent recently, I would say like in April. My editor at Montlake helped me get her. She's like, you should work with Sarah Younger. She's just so much like you and you guys will get along so well. And they totally was right. I love her. So we're looking at some different things now. And of course, we'll keep trying to sell to Montlake because that's like, they're the best. But yeah, it is the whole pitching, querying, here's my concept. What do you think?
So when they look at what's selling well, do you think they're looking at the clean and wholesome category? So basically I'm asking do you think indies are shaping what Amazon is now looking for? Or do you think that they try and anticipate what's going to be popular later?
My guess would be no, because several years ago I asked to write a billionaire series. And they said, everybody expects billionaires to be clean and wholesome or to be smutty. You can't write a billionaire series. I'm like, I can write a billionaire series that's clean and wholesome and it will sell well. Here are some indies who are already doing it. And they said, nope.
Oh.
So it didn't matter, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't know what factor it plays in now, but I have had that experience. They told me, we don't care, so their numbers are very different. They're very number driven. They're different than other publishers. I mean, you might have an editor who just falls in love with your voice, falls in love with your story. And like, yeah, I'm taking you on. Amazon publishing is very numbers oriented. What's selling? Like the books that I sell, I'm so small, but like anybody else probably in the world would be like, oh my gosh, like I would love to sell that many. It's a lot, because Amazon knows how to sell books.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's great. What's your editorial process with Montlake? How much do they come back and make a change?
That's the nice thing too, is they very much feel like this is your book, your name's on it, so it's up to you. And I have my editor and then she reads it and I work with a developmental editor. And the one I have now, oh my gosh, I love her. I'm like, Charlotte, I want to have your babies. Like, you're just so good at this. And she's just excellent. It really helps me find things that I might have missed that I meant to say, but didn't say. And then there's just a bunch of copy editing and proofreading after that, So once you get those couple rounds of, I think you should add this and add a scene, and I want to see the heroine doing this. Not a bunch of that, but some of it. And it's very much the attitude is this is yours. You decide what's in it. And that's very unusual for a publisher. They're not like that. They're like, this is how we want it written, and you do it the way we want. And Amazon is like the total opposite. So it's really nice. It's like, I feel like I can have the best of like the indie world and the publishing world with them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. All right, Jocelyn wants to know, how do you handle writing in so many different genres? Do your fans follow you through?
Well, I've written mostly contemporary. I mean, I'm mostly contemporary adult, and then I've got a couple of YAs, and then I have one that's a paranormal time travel. It's like the book of my heart that I love. And I wrote it just because I wanted to write it. But what I think works for me is that my voice stays the same. And that even in the time travel one, my heroine is a modern day girl with her spunky neuroses, sassy, whatever. So I think that's what keeps me together, is that I keep writing in my voice and I keep writing with my brand of this funny, flirty, feel-good romance. And, that's why it'd be hard for me, I think, to write a Regency. Like I'd love to, like my time travel book is set up to be a series. And I'd love to go write a Regency set on the siblings in that book. But I'm like, man, that'd be really off brand for me right now. That would be a historical and I wouldn't have that same feel that my books have. So I haven't done it for that reason. But I think it's easier to span genres when you're keeping your voice and your brand in each book that you go to. Very
good answer. That's good. All right. Ellie wants to know, how do you keep your books so sticky in rank? They're always way up high.
Yeah, Amazon. Sell a lot of books every day. That's how. Yeah. But yeah, Amazon pushes. I get put in like the Prime Reading program, which that makes you very sticky. You're going to stay up there because those books are not counted. I mean, I don't make money off them. If people have been in the Prime Reading program, no, you get an upfront payment and then that's it for the time that you're in the program. But I thought it's worth it to me for you to be. I mean, Starstruck, which came out January. It's sitting in like the top 300 right now for a book that came out in January. That's amazing to me.
That really is fantastic.
It is them pushing, it is them marketing, it is them. I don't do hardly any marketing, to be honest, and that's something people want to hear. But I remember when I had my first phone call with Amazon, I'm like, I'm going to be a good little author, and what can I do to help with the marketing? And one of the people laughed, and she's like, "Oh, there's nothing you can do. Like, there's nothing that you can do that would match what we're capable of."
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay then. And so I haven't really worried about it, to be honest. I've been doing marketing for Moonstruck, the second book in the series right now, and I don't know if you guys know Melissa Storm, has her company, and I've been using her, and she's been doing some Facebook ads for me because I am just hopeless at Facebook ads, and that's been doing well. Like, probably not as well as I would have hoped, and she's kind of trying to find that. She keeps testing, and I don't have the patience for that either. Like, I'm like, I so admire her that she can do this, but yeah. So I've been having her do that for me, but I have a publicist I've used for the last couple launches, just because I'm now in a position where I think I can, and I wanted, like, Moonstruck got book list and library journal. That was pretty cool, but that was because of my publicist, because of the relationships that she has. So I got to a point where I'm like, I can afford this and I can do this, and if it can help me, I definitely want to.
Yeah.
So do you know if your Facebook ads do something for you, or do you just put them up and just hope that your CPC is low? Like, do you get that feedback?
Yeah, she's really good about that. She lets me know how it's doing, and I can see it. And I can see, like, the affiliate, like, I have affiliate links and all my stuff, and I can see that people are clicking on it. And it's hard to tell from that if they're buying, though, because I'm in Kindle Unlimited because I'm with Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get to see those numbers. But again, look at the stickiness of these books. Moonstruck's in the top 1,000 right now. I think in the top 750 right now. Same kind of thing that, it does well. And I think that's the reason why.
You don't get to determine anything with price or anything. Amazon does all of that as well.
Absolutely no control. They send me an email saying, "Hey, this is going on sale."
And then at that moment, do you try and push a lot of stuff towards it, or you just kind of go, "Okay, it's for sale"?
Yep.
I guess that's what's so nice about being with Amazon.
I don't have to do that. They're going to send out emails and they're going to contact readers who are interested, and I don't need to. And it's hard because the ones that really work, like BookBub, there's not enough time. Like, it'll be like, your book will be on sale next week. There's no way, I can't get into BookBub in time. So I think the ones that we know work well, it's just not going to happen. And the ones that maybe have some effectiveness, it's not worth the money to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't think it makes that much of a difference for me.
So do you have a newsletter list that you've built, or do you just, okay. So you send out stuff to your newsletter, or is that owned by Amazon? No,
that's mine. It's totally mine. I should be better about it. My goal is once a month. And I know that's, like, really low for what people do. I hate newsletters, like, getting them. So, like, I don't want to inflict them on anybody else. Like, I went out with Elena Johnson to lunch, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I send one out every week." I'm like, "Don't people, like, hate you?" She's like, "No, like, she's like, I get, like, 4 emails from the Gap every day. Like, who cares? If they don't want to hear it, they unsubscribe, and I'm fine with that. Like, they don't want to hear from me." So I really admire that. I'm working up that. I'd like to be better about newsletters and stuff like that. But yeah, so I've got a fair size newsletter list. It's not huge, but I'm working on it.
I always tell myself, though, it's so hard to find clean and wholesome books. And so those readers who subscribe want to know other clean and wholesome authors and when new books come out. Just because, I mean, before Clean and Wholesome came out, and you were saying before we got on that you were one of possibly the instrumental person in getting Clean and Wholesome put up. And before that even happened. And I really only think that authors know about the categories. Like, we obsess, who's in this category and who's number one. And like, before I started writing, I would have no clue. Like, how do you even find a book on Amazon that's clean? So then I always think, well, then people join my newsletter and want to know the books. So it's kind of changing that mindset of, well, they don't know how to find it. Oh, I know Amy will send out a book newsletter with Clean and Wholesome, and I'll just buy off of her newsletter. So maybe that will help you feel a little more confident in sending your newsletter out.
I'll work on it.
Do you do anything special for a book launch other than send it out to your newsletter, or does Amazon really?
The last couple ones I have, Amazon's been fantastic in launching my books. And I've been very fortunate that the marketing manager, I love her. And she's just been really instrumental in helping me and the whole team. I mean, the whole team's awesome. But, they put out these really big pushes when it comes out. And it's like the last one, I got the Kindle notification, like on your phone, like, Sariah Wilson's put out a new book, or check out this book. And I'm like, that's so cool. I was very excited. Make sure I got a Kindle push, and I was very excited about that. But I get, the ads that are on your Kindles when you turn it on. I get those all the time. they really know how to market. And so if anybody's looking for marketing advice, like the one thing they tell me that I'm passing along to you, your Amazon followers, build that, build that, build that, build that. Because if you get enough people, they're going to push you to, even if
Nice.
you're indie. So the marketing manager told me that's the number one thing to tell people is get your Amazon followers, make that be the number one thing in contests that people have to do is follow you on Amazon. In the last couple launches I have, like I said, I've used Publicists. I've got 2 that I've used. And because I wanted one of them, just I want my name out there. I want people to start knowing who I am. And the second one, it was like, now I want to start going for some prestige. I want to have some, reviews and some, I thought it's so funny because like it just gives you this like, I don't know, like clout or something. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like suddenly you're legitimized somehow when you have these big places like reviewing you. And then it's like easier for them to move to the next step. Well, she's been reviewed in these 2 publications. If you want to review her too, she's already, just one of those things that you get in. It's like it helps you build to the next point. It's kind of like when you get nominated for an Academy Award, you could just say Academy Award nominee for the rest of your life. It feels like that. Like it's like been legitimized and, oh, look, she's been, noticed by these publications. And not that I think it's important. That was just my own personal writing goal, and it's not for everyone. And lots of people don't care, and that's totally fine. Do what you want to accomplish, and that's one of the things I wanted to accomplish.
Definitely. That's great. All right. So we have Pamela who wants to know, do you self-publish too? And if so, how do you juggle that?
I haven't been. I would hope to at some point in the future. I've just been so busy. Now, what I did was I was self-publishing. And then, I was with Kindle Press, and I thought I can just give it to them and then they can do all the marketing because it's Amazon, as Victory knows, and they are doing marketing, and they do more marketing for some books than others. I don't know what qualifies that. I mean, it's closed, but they're still marketing. They're still pushing those books. I thought when that stops, I'll pull my books back and I'll be indie with those. But for now, like, I don't see a reason to do it. But I did write 4 books that were indie, they were intended to be indie, and I gave them to Kindle Press to publicize. But that's not really an avenue anymore that authors can use, unfortunately. So
yeah, that was kind of sad when they shut that down.
I was so sad. I can't even tell you how depressed I was. I was so bummed. That was because it was such a great thing, I thought, for indie authors.
Yes.
And I would tell everybody, give Amazon a book. Let them have one of your books. Yeah, you're not going to have control over the price or stuff that I know we all love having control over, but let them publicize it for you. And because there are lots of people who took off in a big way because of that. So.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Well, and I think that's how I got started too with Kindle Scout, and I think that helped me.
Yep.
Yeah, my book does pretty good with Kindle Scout. So
yeah, mine just went up because they did some kind of promotion recently. Like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's always nice.
All right. So Marika asks, what are your top 3 marketing strategies? And we kind of talked a little bit about that.
Let Amazon market it. That's my main strategy. Yeah.
Your main strategy. Let them do it.
My main strategy is I let Amazon market it. And the next ones I would say are, hiring my own publicist, and then hiring someone to do Facebook ads for me. Because I realize there's a point where I think I can't keep doing it all myself. Like, it's a waste of writing time. That I'm better served writing than I am doing this administrative stuff. And I'm like, I probably need to hire an assistant. I probably am to that point now where this is necessary for me to have someone to do this stuff for me. And so you have to figure out, I think, for yourself when that point comes in your career, like, is it better to have someone else do Facebook ads for me than it is to myself? Because some people are great at it. Like, some people are great at covers and do amazing covers, and, it's easy for them. Like, if I had to do a cover, I would never put out a book because I'm so terrible at it. And same with Facebook ads. I'm not that visual artist. It doesn't work for me. So yeah, I think it's been finding other people who can help me with those marketing things that I can't really do myself.
How many books do you put out a year?
Depends. I mean, so far this year, I think I've had 2 come out. So I don't get to write as often. I mean, publishers are going to slow you down, but I am looking to get into some other publishers and get into some different houses. And so that might make it up to 4. And if I get time to start doing indie books again, I might, but publishers are worried about reader fatigue, which I don't get. If I love an author, I'm going to read everything she writes. That's just not even a problem. Like, if she put out a book every week, I would read it, if I loved it that much. So I don't know. I think maybe 4 books is kind of what Montlake's hoping for. If I get into different publishers, that I would keep it down to like 2. I don't know.
So you are allowed to write other books with a contract with Montlake.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic contract. Everybody should work with Montlake if they can.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
We will.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's cool because I've wanted to cite it, but I didn't know how they were with the contract. So they are fine. Like if you wanted to do Clean and Wholesome with them, but then also do like indie or do it with someone else, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. Okay. Some people get like right of first refusal, and I think some of my earlier contracts had it. I don't have it anymore. So,
do you just have an agent pitch to Montlake, or I'm assuming that since your path is different than mine would be.
She hasn't pitched to Montlake yet for me because I'm still on contract. I'm writing book 2 of a 3-book contract. So I have another book to go. And I think you don't really want to start trying to pitch a new contract until, you're kind of getting close to being done. So that'll be a while, probably not next April. And then, we've talked about where do I want to go and what do we want to do, So we're looking at a couple options right now and different places we want to pitch. And I'm looking to maybe get into YA fantasy just because I love it so much. Like it's what I read for fun. I'm like, I want to write this. And so she's like, let's write it, So I might be brand confusion because it won't be like me, it won't be these contemporary romances, but I guess we'll see.
Fun. So much fun though.
You said Montlake was the one who got you in contact with an agent. Is that correct?
Yeah. Because I didn't have an agent. Like I told our host before how I got published with Montlake, but I snuck in a back door. And like I said, I sold 8 books to them by myself with no agent. And it got kind of the point where, I could keep going down this road, but it was really hard. It was really difficult. And I thought, I want to be at the next level. Like I'm starting to get to the point where I'm like, why can't my books be a Hallmark movie? Why can't I, be doing these things and kind of be at this next level that I want to be at? And I actually talked to Dave Farland. I don't know if you guys know him. He writes like fantasy. He teaches at bunches of conferences and stuff. And he just he'll do like a consulting thing with you. And I told him, this is where I want to be. Like I already know I can write well. I'm already, sold a bunch of books to Montlake. I'm doing good. I want to be at this place where I start seeing movies or TV shows or whatever. He said, you've got to go to New York. You have to get an agent. You've got to get a publisher. It's just that simple. And I'm like, I don't want to, It's terrible. I don't want to do that. But I thought he's right, and he said, you cannot get to the next level unless you have an agent. So my editor and I, she unfortunately has left, and I mourned this deeply, but she and I were really in sync. She was Christian. She believed in waiting for marriage. And so she was really supportive of my books. And I was talking to her and I said, Megan, I think I'm ready to go to this next level and get an agent. And she goes, well, here's a few agents that I think would work really well for you. And so I contacted a few and they were like, yeah, sure. Send me your stuff. And then she's like, well, did you hear back from Sarah? And I said, she didn't respond. She's like, oh no, you have to talk to Sarah. And so she emailed Sarah and Sarah immediately emailed me. I sent her Starstruck. She read it in one weekend. She's like, I love you. I want to represent you. Because I had agents contact me when my books hit high on the list and I saw that I didn't have an agent. And I'm like, I don't want someone that trolled a list and found me. I want someone who's like, I love you. I love what you write. And I want to be supporting you and helping you get to that next level. And that's exactly what Sarah is. She's amazing and I adore her. And I hope that we've got some good things coming up.
Fantastic. We do have viewers who would like to know how you got picked up by Montlake, if you want to tell that story.
Like I said, our poor hosts have already heard the story, so they're going to hear it again. Kind of what happened is I wrote for a small publisher for a while and was not real happy with the experience. And I had some kids, 2 kids in a row, and I was just tapped out creatively. And when I kind of started feeling like I need to get back to writing is when the indie revolution was happening. Is the passive guy, the passive voice, he's Gigi Vandergrift's husband. He's the one who started talking about it. That's how I first heard about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, have you heard this thing? This is amazing. It's going to change publishing. I'm so excited. And I actually it's so funny because this group of authors I belong to who wrote Clean and Wholesome, I'm like, guys, have you seen this? They're like, no, this is a fad. Like, it's going to pass. Like, they all write indie now. Like, it cracks me up. Like, they're all super indie, And I'm like, yeah, I was stupid and didn't know what I was talking about. Now you're all writing indie. But I wrote a young adult book, and I thought it was a good book, and I was excited about it, and nobody bought it. Like, I think one month I sold 7 copies, and that was it. And I tried some different marketing things and it just wasn't getting out there. And, and I thought, what can I do? What do I need to do? And I thought I need to be in partnership, like with Amazon. Like, that's who's going to push your books. And how do I do that? Well, Montlake is the romance house. How do you get to them? Well, you can't, like, they don't even have a way to submit. Like, you can't even go on the website and submit to them. You have to have an agent. I'm like, but I don't want an agent, because back then I didn't. So I thought I'm just going to write a bunch of books and put them up like Liliana Hart did. And I'm going to, hopefully I'll help me emulate her success, and I'll sell a little bit better. So I wrote Royal Date. And the day I finished, any group I belonged to said, have you heard about this Kindle Scout thing? And I saw the potential, and everybody's like, I would never give away that much of my book. I'd give away the rights, and I would never, hand that over. And I'm like, it's kind of like watching Shark Tank. If you guys have seen that show, someone's making $100,000 a year, and they say, I can make your company $10 million a year. Yeah, you have to give me 50% or whatever, but it's going to be $10 million. And I'm like, $5 million is a lot better than 100,000. Like, who cares if you keep the control? If you were making 5 million, or, and so that was kind of my thinking about it, was I would much rather make, have a much bigger pond to play in and have a lesser percentage of control. And I know other people don't feel that way. I did. And when I saw it, I'm like, I'm going to enter that and I'm going to win. And I did. And, I was one of the first 10 winners. And I mean, they put out press releases like in Forbes and in Business Week. Like, it was all over the internet. It was really cool.
Nice.
And, they really pushed it and publicized it because we were the first winners. And the woman who was in charge at the time called me up and said, why'd you enter? And I said, well, I really would like to work with Montlake someday. And she's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And next thing I know, I've got the editorial director of Montlake calling me. And I'm like, wow, this is so neat. I'm getting my foot in the door, and I can talk to her and maybe get some info. And she ends the conversation by saying, well, I'm going to offer you a 2-book contract, and I'll be calling you back with the details. And I was stunned, total shock, and the day she called me back with the details was the day before my 40th birthday. So that was pretty cool. That was a nice little present for me. But yeah, I kind of get my foot in the door, and I've had to struggle to stay there. It's been a struggle being a clean and wholesome author. I think I am the only one at Montlake that writes that way. And there's these big, huge New York Times, USA Today bestsellers that this is not the industry. This is not what they're writing. It's not what Montlake is selling, and they sell a lot more copies than me. But Montlake has been so supportive and so, like, standing by me and letting me write the way that I want and the brand that I want. And I'm really grateful to them for that.
Fantastic. That's excellent. All right. We have one more last question from our group. Kirsten is curious why you choose to write in one point of view when so many romances are done dual point of view.
I think because I wrote that I didn't used to write in first person. I started off my writing historical romance, and it was third person. And I would kind of go back and forth in chapters between the hero and the heroine. So I think I wrote more traditionally starting out. And for Royal Date, I heard the heroine, her name's Kat. I heard her in my head. She was talking to me like in first person. And then so I started writing that way, and I'm like, oh, I love this. Like, this feels like me. This feels like how I talk, and it feels like, how I want to write. So I think I did it for that aspect. And then I think in the beginning with the books, one of the conflicts that I have is you don't know what the hero's thinking. The heroine doesn't know what the hero's thinking. And I thought it's very frustrating for a reader if you have a heroine who deals with insecurity and the hero's like, well, she's beautiful and I love her. And you're like, you moron, he loves you and he thinks you're awesome. Like, why are you complaining? So I think when you leave his point of view out, it allows you to have that as a conflict. And that was very deliberate on my part for that reason, because these girls deal with a lot of insecurity, not knowing what he's thinking. And I thought that's how it is in real life. You don't know what that guy's thinking. You don't get to hear his thoughts. You are just meddling through this romance, trying to figure it out, So it felt very natural to me. My time travel book, what I did was I wrote the heroine in first person. I wrote the hero in third. And that was a lot of fun too. But the new series I'm working on right now, I'm writing first person from the hero and the heroine. I'm alternating, and it's very different. I'm thinking maybe this is one of the reasons why it's hard for me, because in Clean and Wholesome, you have the problem of writing the hero's point of view without making it sexual. Yeah. Like, how do you do that? Because men don't think like women. Let's be honest, and they're not thinking the same way that we are, even when they're conservative or religious men, So I thought, this is difficult. How do I do that? So that's kind of what I've been dealing with. And it's very challenging, and I enjoy the challenge, but I don't know, I guess we'll see what the readers think. They might be like, this is terrible and I hate it and don't ever write this way again. And we'll find out. But that's why I've chosen to write the way that I do.
Fantastic. That's awesome. All right, writing gals, do you have any other questions for Sariah?
I'm going to get off of here and think of a million of them, but I think I've already asked her some of my main ones.
Well, email me if you think of something else.
That's true.
I will be happy to email you just to say, hey.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll email you if I think of any questions, because that's what happens when you get off of the call.
All the time.
Yeah, I think we have a few from our YouTube channel. Amy?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. I kept like hitting it and it just was not working. Yes, we do. So the first one was, how has your history degree assisted or not assisted you in writing fiction?
Well, when I started out, I was writing historical fiction. So I did probably about a year of research before I ever even started my first book, because I wanted to be accurate. Same with writing my time travel. I spent a lot of time. I mean, I love Regency books anyways, but I spent a lot of time studying it, because people who read Regency, they don't fool around. They do not put up with and I'm the same way. People who do titles incorrectly, it infuriates me. Like, there's so much information about how to properly address someone in Regency England, but if you're not doing it, I'm going to smack you, you know. But I think in historicals, it's helped me. I don't know if it's helped me as much in contemporary, because I think you just have to do research, period. Like, I'm running about an NFL team. I had to go do research, you know, but anybody would have to do that. So it's not just me. It's just, that's just part of writing. So I think it does help in that aspect. There's always some degree of research, but I don't think I use it as much with contemporary, though.
That's what I'm going through right now. My Marrying a Spy he's from the CIA, and there's a lot of information. I mean, it's a romance, so I can't let the spy story take off, but it's good to have that background and knowing. My husband was like, you're going to get this wrong, Amy. You're going to get this wrong. So bless his heart, he went on to YouTube and was finding all these videos, and he was telling me this is how it has to be, and this is what his motivation is, and all these things. He's like, because it's not the FBI, it's the CIA, and that's international, da-da-da-da. Everything that I did, I was like, oh, I'll just make her Marrying a Spy. It'll be great. And then I was like, wait a minute, it's going to be a lot harder than I thought. So yeah, It's hard.
Absolutely.
Kelsey says, just so you know how awesome you are. She says, sitting over here wishing I could write one draft as brilliant as Sariah's. Then somebody, I don't know how to say that, says, is Montlake Romance a royalty share or upfront payment? Can you say that?
There's an advance, and then they pay you royalties.
Okay.
So
royalty share.
Like the publisher.
And then they put together like your audiobook and all those kinds of things. Do they do it through their exchange program, or how does that? Do you get any like say in any of that, or?
They ask me, is there anything that's important to you? Like, you know, and I'm like, if someone has an accent, I'll say this should be a light Italian accent, or this should be a Southern accent. They allow me the chance to tell them up front. You know, I had to tell them how to pronounce my name, and I had to put a link on a website of how to pronounce Sariah, because nobody can say it. But they use someone called Brilliance Audio, I think, Brilliance Publishing. But that's who does all the audio for Montlake. And once they take over the audio, I don't have any say. I don't pick the narrator. They just give me a nice little audiobook, but I can't listen to it. I cannot like listen to anything I've written. And I know that's weird. And the same with like my friends' books. Like, I can't read my friends' books. Like, that sounds so stupid. And I didn't realize how dumb it was till I was at a book reading group with Julie Coulter Bellin and Becky Monson. And they're like, do you read their books? I'm like, I don't read my friends' books. Like, once I meet you, I'm like, we're done now. Like, I can't read your stuff because I know you and I can hear you, and it like freaks me out. And I that's just so me. And I know it's a weird thing, but it is. I do that. But so yeah, with audio, I can't listen to my own books. I can't.
That's funny.
It's just weird.
Kelsey is also wondering, do you write your own blurbs and taglines because they're so good?
No, I do not. They have professionals that like to take care of that for me, and I love them.
I was going to say, I just taught a class at the Midwest conference, and I actually used one of your blurbs for your stepsister one as an example of a good blurb. So they're doing their job.
The stepsister one, that was actually indie to begin with. And so I kind of wrote the stepsister one. And then I think Jeff Savage helped me with the first one. And the second one, Julie Coulter Bellin, like I paid her to help me. She's really good at blurbs. Like, if you guys need someone to write blurbs, Julie Coulter Bellin, she's awesome. But I'm not great at it. What they do is they send you a sheet, and it will have several taglines. They have short taglines, they have long taglines, they have series taglines. The blurb is just the blurb. Like, the blurb's decided. I don't have a say. It's just how it is. but I get to help pick out like the Love Struck series. It has like a little short tagline underneath the title for each book. And I've been able to help pick out which that tagline is. So, but yeah, they have very good professionals who do that. And I'm grateful to them.
So I have a question for you. Those are all the rest of the questions on the YouTube channel. So when we originally, I said, guys, we should totally try to get Sariah on the podcast. But I'm like, I wasn't terrified. I was like, if I email her, she's not going to know who the heck I am. But they said to tell you my name. Do you monitor like any of the categories? Do you take note of any indie authors that are doing well? Or do you kind of just do your own Amazon, you know, you write your books and you put them to Amazon? Like how much do you study the markets, what's selling well, any of those stuff?
I don't. I should. I don't. I mean, I see a lot of times I'll see names and titles. Like when I went to RWA, I met a lot of people for the first time that I had heard of their names. And it's because like my friends, like Victorine puts up covers and I'm like, I've heard your name before. And it's because I've seen it like on Facebook, you know, because, you know, friends of friends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think more if I hear of an indie author who's doing well, it's like I've read an article or someone said, have you seen how this person's doing? And then I will notice and be aware of it. But I don't know, I think a lot of times I'm just kind of in my own little world, my own little writing bubble. And that's what people are like, you're so famous. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like no, that's not what's happening here. Because I'm like not even close to these people I know. But, you know, I do well, and I'm very grateful to Amazon for that. So
I think if I was published with Amazon, I'd probably be like that way too. I'd be like, I'll just write whatever Amazon wants me to write and we'll go from there. I think when you're indie, you really have to have your finger on the pulse of what's happening.
Absolutely. And it's difficult too, though, because, you know, like when I wrote Royal Date, you know, like royal romances were out. Like people were not publishing them and writing them. But I wanted to write a story about a prince. And I did. And the next year when the two, you know, sequels came out, with the third one, they're like, royal romance is back. You know, and they're like listing it and like all these other people were writing royal romances, you know. And I thought if I had waited for what's the pulse, what do the readers want, you know, sometimes I think you need to write what you want to write and what you feel good about, what makes you excited to get in front of your computer and write. Because I think sometimes if we try too hard to have our finger on the pulse, we miss it. You know, these things come and go.
Yeah. But that was a trope. So I think as long as you're sticking to the tropes, you can write what maybe isn't a popular trope right now, as long as it's a trope. And if you do it well, then you could bring it back. I think a lot of why the royals came back was because of what you were writing.
I thought it was funny when you asked, I think one of your questions in the email that you kind of told me beforehand that you might ask was about tropes. And I'm like I'm aware of tropes, but I don't know I've written a trope until I'm done. I don't go into this like, this is the trope I'm writing. I don't do that like at all. And so I can see it afterwards. I'm like, oh, I did this and I did this, you know, because I think tropes are so ingrained. My husband came in the room and turned the alarm on. Sorry. I think tropes are so ingrained because it's so, you know, it's what happens in romance, right? Yeah. So I think it's in there and it's like ingrained in me, but by the same token, I'm not choosing it beforehand. So
that's interesting. Nice.
It is about the characters for me and the situation, their initial obstacle, their long-term obstacle, and then, you know, writing it from there. And then I can see like, oh, fake engagement, like that's a trope, you know, and I'm like, I'm putting this stuff in there. It's in there. I'm not picking it like beforehand.
Interesting. That's cool. Well, I think that's all of our questions that we have. So we want to thank you so much for coming on our show and for spending the evening with us. This has been awesome to hear your stories and to listen to you. And next week we will be talking about writing romance, and we'll have a craft discussion. And Judy will tell us all her secrets on writing swoon-worthy kisses and all that fun stuff. So join us next week. I'm going to be on the road, so I don't know if I'll be able to be there, but I will try. Does anybody else have any last minute things to say? Nope. I think
just that you all need to subscribe to our channel.
Oh, yes. Don't forget to subscribe and join us next week. And also come to the conference that we're doing in April in Omaha. It's on our Facebook group. So come join us. And
Victorine and I will be at Lone Star Inc. in Dallas in the end of February 28th through March 2nd.
Yes. So that'll be awesome. And those links are also on our website, thewritinggals.com. So see you next week.
Thanks for staying up late.